There was no such thing because Porter didn't die after that boiler explosion. After that accident, our then manager sent him to Rochelle to be repaired. I don't know where he is now, but I'm sure he lived long after that boiler incident.
The engines of Fairway love to listen to scary stories, but they have always believed that Porter had a happy ending after leaving Fairway. This, however, wasn't the case. In fact, the boiler explosion was only the beginning. Not long after his repairs were complete, Porter would be purchased by the Sioux Line Railroad. In need of another switcher, he was soon put to work in a yard in the town of northern Wisconsin, known as Stevens Point. Porter was quick to introduce himself when he arrived.
Good afternoon, folks. My name's Porter, and if this is my new home, and I think it is, then I'm glad to be here. And I hope I can do a real good job here.
That's what they all say.
I come from a little railroad on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. The Fairway and Southeastern. I did a lot of stuff, switching, shunting, etc. And I'll probably be doing a lot of that here.
Hey, our newest shunter. How about that, Bronx?
Really? Well, little guy, you have a lot to live up to here. You'll be challenged by our other little shunter, Sophia.
Not really much of a challenge. I think they get along really well.
Oh, I don't compete, I just shunt. Could use a helping hand, too. Still, getting my bearings back after that explosion.
Excuse me? You recovered from an explosion?
Oh, yeah, a boiler explosion. It did hurt, and I was unconscious for a while, but I got rebuilt, and here I am now.
That is extraordinary.
It is?
Well, I mean, accidents happen, engines get repaired. It wasn't necessarily...
You survived a boiler explosion. Do you have any idea how unheard of that is?
No, I didn't.
Never have I ever met an engine that survived one of those.
You're joking.
Am not. I bet you're going to be the center of attention once the other engines hear about this.
And indeed, he was. The local engines would always ask him questions about his life back in Fairway and what it was like.
I have to admit, folks, compared to here, Fairway was the middle of nowhere. Only smaller engines like tank engines and moguls. Never a fine Pacific like you and Georgette.
Is that so?
I'd say so, Sabrina. I'd love to stay and chat with you, dears, but I gotta get your trains ready. Au revoir, until next time.
For a tank engine, he sure knows how to speak to a lady, doesn't he?
I'll say. You know who I think would like him?
Who? Wait, I know.
Yep. Won't be long before she returns from her rebuild.
However, there was one engine that wasn't very keen on Porter and his antics. Bronx, a 280 consolidation, thought he was irritating and overhyped by the residents and engines alike. This, of course, meant it was easy for him to be wound up by Porter.
Wake up, you slacker! Your train's due in 30 minutes!
Are you serious? I could have slept for another 15 minutes and I'd still leave on time.
Early bird gets the worm. Besides, you're also gonna have to fill up on coal and water.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. I sure can't wait for Sophia to come back.
Who's this Sophia, anyhow? Everybody keeps talking about her.
She's our other shunter. She was sent to a locomotive shop a few weeks ago. I hear they were going to convert her from a tender engine to a tank engine. Like you, in fact.
Really? Sounds like an interesting girl.
Sure is, but don't get any ideas. She's sweet, but holds her ground.
Then I'd say we have something in common. Anyways, catch you on the flip side, big guy. I got work to do.
That wasn't the response I expected.
Soon, that fateful day would come when Sophia finally came home, and she and Porter would get to meet each other. She was once built as a tender engine, number 321, but now she was a blooming tank engine, with side tanks beside her, a big X90 painted on each side of her cab, and rosy cheeks, enough to make anyone fall for her. Many engines would say that once you met the little coquette, you would never forget her.
Woo! Look at you, girl! I'm digging the new look.
Thanks, Georgette. Guess I never really needed a tender anyway. Who might that be?
That is the newest engine on the block. His name is Porter. Came from the Fairway and Southeastern Railway. Hey, why don't you go say hello to him?
I don't see why not.
You know, I don't think we've ever been able to introduce ourselves. You may know me as Porter.
I'm Sawyer. Pleased to meet you at last. Georgette and Sabrina told me a lot about you.
Really? Those two sure get around, don't they?
Porter could see Sophia coming towards them. Sawyer, oblivious to Porter's gaze, greeted Sophia warmly.
Oh, welcome home.
Are you the switcher I've heard so much about?
That depends. What do you know my name as?
I heard that your name is Sophia.
Then you heard right. Nice to meet you. Porter, is it?
Porter it is. Charmed.
You changed a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I'm surprised you even recognize me.
You still got your sweet face.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Well, gotta get going. I'll leave you two alone.
Well, since we've introduced ourselves, shall we get to work?
Why, yes, I suppose we shall.
Porter and Sophia were soon very busy. They shunted freight and passenger cars all afternoon.
Should I teach you a few tips about how to improve your work around the yard? I'm guessing you're still adjusting to a new life around here, on a much bigger railway.
I don't think there'll be a need for that. I'm used to it. They do say I'm as tough as a tank.
Is that right? What makes them say that?
Ever since I told them I'd survived a boiler explosion.
You're pulling my wheels.
Nope.
At this point, Porter had become so jumped up from the compliments that the other engines gave him that he described his tail like he was a superhero.
Was shutting some freight cars in Fairway like how I was now. It was hot, and the water tower was empty. I struggled and struggled to keep working despite my lack of fuel, and that's when it happened. Boom! It was only painful for a few seconds. After that, I was unconscious, and I didn't know what to think. It seemed like it was the end for me. Until they sent me to a shop in Rochelle, Illinois, and I was rebuilt to the way I am today.
Sounds like quite a story. Anyway, I better get those buck cars moving. Oh, come on!
Too heavy?
Yes, I didn't think the workshop would cut down my traction effort.
Hey now, darling, let me help you.
But you don't have to arrange Bronx's train.
It's good to help out those in need. Besides, he's more than capable of fetching his own cars.
As the two were moving their boxcars, Bronx came out of the roundhouse.
Excuse me, where's my train?
We're working on it.
What are you doing? I'm gonna be late.
Then arrange your train yourself. We're already busy enough as it is.
What are you... Alright, fine. I'll do it. This is the same engine that scared me awake 30 minutes ahead of my schedule.
The more Porter disrupted Bronx's daily routine, the lower his patience became. There wasn't much he could do about it, though, especially since everyone else was still awestruck over Porter's past.
He's like the engine equivalent of Hercules. Or Prince Charming. Can you imagine if he and Sophia were to do a retelling of Snow White? Considering they're getting along pretty well, I wouldn't say having them reenact the story is too out of the picture.
Porter this, Porter that. Will you two ever give it a rest about him? You've been fawning over him for weeks.
Well, you're gonna have to get used to it, my dear Bronx.
Why?
It's a big deal. I mean, he survived in a boiler explosion. Have you?
I mean, no, but other than that, he's no different from the rest of us. I get that it's remarkable, but do we have to keep treating him like some sort of god?
What did you expect? It's not a run-of-the-mill incident like derailing on a turnout or hitting an automobile. He survived a—
Alright, I get it. But I still don't think he should get so boastful about it.
Well, it's something to be boastful about, wouldn't you say, Sabrina? I'd say very much so.
Huh. Saying that Sophia's our equivalent Snow White, too. She's not a damsel. She deserves better than that. But how can I show them that they're over-exaggerating this whole thing?
Bronx tried a few times to expose Porter and win Sophia over, but most of his attempts were futile.
Porter! Some freight cars ended up on the turntable somehow. Do you think you can move them out?
Really? Sure, let me take care of that.
How you doing today, Sophia?
Pretty good, Bronx. I gotta help Porter with some shunting though. Talk to you later.
Oh.
These are the cars, right?
Yeah?
They were meant to go to Appleton earlier today. And if I'm right, you're taking a freight in that direction. How about I just give them to you?
Curses. Foiled again.
Bronx's attempts to take matters into his own hands didn't work out very well, but his chance to get the better of Porter eventually did come. Every Halloween, the engines gather around to tell various ghost stories to each other. Porter, Sophia, Bronx, and the rest of the Stevens Point engines had all gathered around at the roundhouse with the one and only goal, to tell the scariest one.
Many people have debated about what happened to the Boy Scouts. Some say they were murdered by their bus driver. Some say they started a forest fire due to a lantern that they were carrying and perished. But all that we do know is that is how the Boy Scout Lane got its name.
That one was simply decent.
Porter was shaking, but nobody noticed except Bronx.
I'll give that story an 8 out of 10.
Oh, I did a ton of research on that one. What a waste.
Have any of you heard of the Cottage Cafe? Almost 100 years old, resides in Plover. A lot of people I've met over there have told me about it, and they say that many ghosts reside within it. Can you believe it? I hear from them that there are things like the classic slamming doors, shattered windows, and flying planes. To think that it's only a few blocks away from the tracks.
So, it has nothing to do with us engines?
Well, I mean, none of these ghosts we've shared stories about so far were engines. All of the ghosts have been people.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'll say. It'll be nice to change things up a little.
Upon Porter saying this, an idea flew into Bronx's smoke box.
What do you mean by changing things up, may I ask?
Well, what I mean is, we've yet to share a story about a ghost engine. Where I came from, we always shared stories about ghost engines. Never stories about ghost people, if you take my meaning.
So you want a story of a ghost engine, huh? Then you're gonna love this one. Many of these ghosts you engines speak of are bad. But this one is not only bad, he could potentially take you to the afterlife with him.
What? How's that?
We call him the ghost engine of Stevens Point. A steam engine that goes as far back as the late 1800s. They say that this engine had a wreck not too far away from the bridge. Yes, that bridge. The one that goes over the Wisconsin River only half a century ago. The story goes that the tree that was close to the line was giving way, and as this engine was approaching the bridge, it fell over and landed right on top of his smoke box. The engine was so badly damaged that it was later scrapped. Nowadays, many residents of the town have said it sounds like this engine is just around the bend, but it never comes into view. They say that in the slim chance that you do see it, you best be on your way and never look back.
But surely someone must have seen this engine.
Oh yes, there have been a few, but not many have lived to tell the tale.
Anyone you know in particular?
Of course. I actually saw that engine a year ago. Stupid me figured I'd challenge him to a race. Whoever reaches the bridge first wins. We went quite a distance, but I knew I'd have the better of him once I reached that bridge.
What's so special about the bridge?
They say that once you cross the Wisconsin River, the ghost engine will vanish into thin air, and you'll no longer have anything to worry about.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Bronx decided to look around. As he did, he could see the other engines were just as frightened as Porter. He laughed.
Ha! Looks like I win. So here's my advice to you, Porter. If you're lucky enough to be traveling through the forest in the middle of the night, and if you hear what sounds like an old whistle or see an old engine, drop everything and make for the bridge. Don't even look back, cross the bridge no matter what. For there's a rumor that this engine wants to take your own smoke box and claim it as their own. Good night.
Most of the engines would soon drift off to sleep, but not Porter. After all the other engines had been saying about him and Sophia being like Prince Charming and Snow White and other comments, he had begun to feel like she really was the right one for him, and made his move later that evening.
Sophia, we've known each other for a fair while now. It's getting to the point where I feel like I gotta ask you this.
Really? What's up?
Sophia, we both work hard, together, in this yard, and we're both switchers, and given my big title and all, I really think it would be nice if you and me were to hitch up, like boyfriend and girlfriend. Plus, it'd teach old Bronx not to be such a grouchy crosspatch, you know?
Do you really think of him that way?
Of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Have you seen the way he acts?
I honestly think you're getting the wrong impression of him. And I honestly don't think that just because we're switches that work in the same yard means we should be together. What else do we have in common? I think we more make sense as friends.
Friends? Friends? How could you say that? Do you want to stay single or something?
No, I want to be in a relationship that would work out rather than being based on one or two mutual things. That's not how a healthy relationship works.
Are you trying to say you'd rather be with that jerk Bronx?
He's not a jerk, Porter. Can't you see that? He's just jealous.
Exactly. Jealous. 'Cause he's a coward that couldn't even last a day going through the stuff I have. I'm tough as a Sherman tank. And him, he's nothing but a...
And that's another thing. You're too boastful about that one thing.
One thing? It was a boiler explosion, for crying out loud. I have every right to brag about surviving something like that. Most engines would be dead.
Exactly. You're lucky. And why do you survive? Because you have rebuilt, you can't go acting like it was all you're doing.
Oh, friends owning me is bad enough. But you have the audacity to say that? What's next? Oh, be careful, Porter. Don't get a big head or the ghost engine will get you.
You think that legend is fake?
Let me put it this way. Have you seen it?
No, but I've heard it all night many times, in fact.
How do you know it was the Phantom engine and not one of the others doing a nighttime run?
Because the whistle sounds a lot like the whistles any of us have. It sounds like it belongs to a Civil War era engine.
You serious? Rubbish. Forget it, Sophia. You're too gullible even to deserve someone like me.
If you want to believe that story is fake, then fine. I'm going back to the roundhouse.
Yeah, you'd better. Heroes don't like nice guys when they see 'em.
Porter moved closer to the yard lead, literally wanting to blow off some steam. No vehicle that was awake dared to go near him, but the night foreman did.
Hey, Porter. Hey, Porter. I see you still awake.
Yeah, I am. Wasn't really tired anyways. What's up?
Earlier today, there were some lumber cars that were meant to be taken to the Messini paper mill by Sawyer, but due to some miscommunication, they were left behind by mistake. Seeing as you're in steam, do you think you could cover for them? It's only about 5 cars, and you only have to go as far as Messini. You should be back before dawn.
Yeah, I think I can do that. I'll just coal up and get a caboose, and I'll be on my way. All right, kid. Better not try anything stupid. I've licked bigger locomotives than you in my sleep. Oh, yeah.
It was long past midnight when Porter had finally finished his journey to Mosney and made his way back home with only his caboose, Shack, to keep him company. The sky grew darker and darker as one by one the stars faded away. The clouds blocked the moonlight's shine. The only way Porter could see at this time of night was with his headlamp, and even that wasn't enough. At this point, Porter had forgotten all about his heartbreak with Sophia. All he could wonder now is if he'd ever make it out of the dark forest alive.
The quicker we get back to the roundhouse, the better. Who would have thought the engine that nearly blew up would be this scared? In fact, who am I fooling? I'll be fine. There's no such thing as ghosts. I'm losing my nerve.
But the further he went into the darkness, the more Porter's anxiety increased. The forest seemed to close in behind him, and every last detail of the legend of the Phantom engine polluted his mind.
Take it easy. I'll freeze to death out here if we get a hot box. Right. Right. Sorry.
Porter went slower, but was still getting startled at the littlest sounds. He thought he could make out a child laughing, an owl hooting, and even a whistle. A faint, old steam whistle in the distance.
That's some trick. How do you do that with your whistle? I didn't. That's someone else's. Another engine? What other engine would be out here?
It didn't take them long to find out. In the distance, Shack could see what looked like an old, transparent like 460. Once he made out the details, it all dawned upon him.
Porter, we gotta get out of here. Right now. Why, what? Never mind!
Porter picked up speed and didn't dare slow down.
He's after us! Come on, get the lead out! I'm already going as fast as I can!
Porter, being a shunting tank engine, couldn't go very fast, but did his best. They rounded a curve, and it seemed the ghost engine had disappeared.
Hooray! We've lost him!
Then they heard the whistle again, and the engine appeared in front of Porter this time.
No, we haven't!
He quickly stopped and went back in reverse, but the whistle didn't get any quieter. The ghost appeared again behind them.
What do you want from us? What did we ever do to you? It's a ghost. Why would he do any rational thinking? He only wants to hurt us, grind us in the dust, and throw us in the river. The river?
Then Porter remembered something.
Once you crossed the Wisconsin River, the ghost engine will vanish into thin air. and you'll no longer have anything to worry about.
Come on, Shaq. We gotta get to the river. What if the ghost appears in front of us? That's a risk I'm willing to take.
The bridge was soon within eyesight, and so was the ghost engine.
Leave us alone!
He charged right towards the ghost, and it disappeared just as he touched it. But as soon as he went past where the ghost once was, he realized he had come off the rails and was plunging into the river below. As Porter fell unconscious as he sank into the river, he swore the last thing he heard before it all went to black was the sound of the ghost engine's whistle echoing through the gorge. The next thing Porter could remember was finding himself being craned out of the water, and down below he could see Shaq in pieces.
Porter, are you alright? Pretty nasty fall you had there. Some vandal in the middle of the night broke the rails in two. Too bad you happened to be out at this time.
Is the ghost trying to warn me about this? Or did he set it up himself? I doubt I'll ever know. I'm so sorry, Shaq.
Porter was taken away after that accident to allegedly be repaired, but he never returned to Stevens Point. Shortly afterwards, Bronx and Sophia got together, and believe it or not, they lived a happy, healthy relationship. But the sleepy town of Stevens Point never found out what happened to Porter. Georgette and Sabrina, who often took long-distance passenger trains to other parts of the country, would bring back claims that Porter was still alive, and had made the choice not to come back, not only because of the fear of the ghost engine, but also out of heartbreak. But most residents and engines of Stevens Point brushed their claims off, and chose instead to believe that he had been spirited away, and some saying he now haunts the bridge himself. Nevertheless, the story of Porter has faded into legend, and has left the town as a simple reminder as to never let heartbreak get the better of them.